Good day, students. This lecture is on streptococcal serology. Streptococcal serology, the causative agent that we will be discussing would be the group A streptococci or the species of Streptococcus pyogenes or pyogenes. This bacteria causes pharyngitis, pyoderma, so it's a form of a skin infection, puerperal sepsis, which is a complication after delivery, and necrotizing fasciitis. Those that affect muscles can also produce a toxin that results in scarlet fever, where there is petechial spots, which are a form of red patches, okay, which is a symptom of a scarlet fever. Now, there are numerous exoantigens. Exo meaning it is able to produced by the bacteria outside the cell that is being attacked. These are exoantigens produced by your Streptococcus pyogenes or the group A. You have streptolysin O. It's toxin that is able to lyse red blood cells. That's the name streptolysin. It lyses red blood cells. DNase, which is an enzyme against DNA. Hyaluronidase, that's an enzyme which is a spreading factor. When the bacteria able to release this type of enzyme, then it can spread the infection nearby tissues. Then you also have NADase or the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotidase. It's an enzyme against the coenzyme NAD rather. A streptokinase, this is the enzyme that causes lysis of a fibrin clot. Okay, so therefore there would be continuous bleeding if the bacteria will be secreting this type of enzyme, as this enzyme will destroy the fibrin clot. Patients react to exoantigens by producing antibodies. So we know for a fact that when an individual is exposed to a certain antigen, the immune system of the individual is activated in order to produce an antibody against that. So which means to say that the individual positive for strep infection will be able to produce anti-streptolysin O, meaning an antibody against streptolysin O. It can also produce anti-DNase, anti-hyaluronidase, anti-NADase, and anti-streptokinase. So all of these exoantigens, when an individual is exposed, is able to produce antibody against these antigens. So this is the post-streptococcal sequelae or the complications that may occur if a patient is left untreated for a pharyngitis, particularly of the infections that we have made mention caused by strep A, with sequelae would be your pharyngitis. So it all started with sore throat, the so-called pharyngitis, and then from the sore throat or from what you call this, from tonsils, no? Because if you have pharyngitis, your tonsils are also inflamed in a condition known as tonsillitis. So when it is inflamed, we can conclude that bacteria are lodging, multiplying, and reproducing actually in your tonsils. So from the tonsils, the bacteria goes into the heart and causes rheumatic fever or the so-called RHD, rheumatic heart disease. This is due to the M protein, which is an antigenic determinant among strep A bacteria. Shares antigenic epitopes with proteins found in synovium, heart muscle, and heart valve. So it can form complex within that structure of the heart, causing RHD. And the particular antigenic determinant is the M protein that is produced by strep A organisms. So this would occur for about 3 to 4 weeks after infection. From the heart, it may go to the glomerulus, kidney. Call it glomerulonephritis. And what causes glomerulonephritis? The circulating antigen antibody complexes are deposited on the glomerular basement membranes, and this would cause the condition known as glomerulonephritis. Okay. What is these antigen antibody complexes? Remember when I said when an individual is exposed to the exoantigen produced by this group of organism, the individual will form antibody against it. Now, since the antibody is specific to that antigen, like streptolysin O, it produces anti-streptolysin O, then it binds, then forms the complex. So when we say complex, it means the binding of the antibody and to its specific antigen. So ito yung ating complex that when they reach the kidneys, of course, because since they are present in the circulation, in the blood, and blood is being filtered in the kidney, and so they be able to reach the kidneys. And that antibody antigen complex, okay, will be deposited in the glomerular basement membrane since they cannot be filtered freely because of a larger molecule, because it's already bind or it already formed rather a complex, so mas malaki-laki, it cannot be filtered out. So what will happen? It will be deposited in the glomerular membrane or glomerular basement membrane. And then when this happens, the complement will be activated. We have also discussed complement, particularly classical complement pathway. No, as we have discussed in the classical, what will activate the classical pathway is the presence of an antigen antibody complex. Okay, so that will cause complement to be activated. And we know for a fact that the final or the terminal pathway ends with the formation of MAC or membrane attack complex. So with that, with the MAC being formed, then it can destroy the nephrons, no, of the glomerulus, leading to the condition known as glomerulonephritis. So this would result to damage to the membranes, of course, 10 days after pharyngitis or 18 to 21 days after skin infection. So you still have actually time to be treated. No, let's not wait for 10 days after because sequelae is expected to occur. So to prevent rheumatic fever and to prevent glomerulonephritis, we should immediately treat kahit mga simple pharyngitis or tonsillitis because we can never know if the causative agent of that infection is your strep A. No, so you still have ample time to get treated or to be treated before this sequelae will occur. For rheumatic, that would be around 3 to 4 weeks, while for your glomerulo, that would be around 2 to 3 weeks, no, 10 days or 18 to 21 days after. So these are the streptococcal serology laboratory testing. We can do culture and identification, but as you have learned in your bacteriology, this would take time. When we are able to isolate the organism, still you have to identify it. And identification requires series of biochemical tests. So it would take around a week before the interpretation of result of the possible bacteria that has been isolated and identified will be released. So more or less, it takes some time, so baka mabutan ka for the sequelae to be formed. But we have rapid strep test naman from throat swabbing of the throat. We have a rapid strep test. Then we can also do detection of streptococcal antibodies in the laboratory for serology area. Then anti-streptolysin O titer. Well, when you say titer, we quantitate, no? How much of the ASO is been there. Now, we know that our mouth is a natural big opening, so it invites a lot of organism. So from now and then, strep will be able to gain entrance. So we expect na meron tayong mga ASO production as response of our immune system to this organism. Meron naman yan. But however, when we say anti-streptolysin titer, meron tayong standard titer kung saan when you will be exceeding this titer, it means you have a very active pharyngitis, no? And that should be treated immediately to prevent sequelae to occur. No? But if you are, hindi rin naman natin masasabing zero titer talaga. As I've said, now we are exposed to it as mouth is a natural opening. But if our immune system is okay and the bacterial load is not that much, but still our body produces ASO. Okay, so basta't lang hindi tayo lalagpas sa standard reference value, wala namang sinasabing zero talaga. So that will be zero until the maximum limit for the standard value, which I will be discussing later on. Then we can also do DNA probes. Now, this is the rapid strep test from throat swab. Antigen from a swab is extracted. So there would be swabbing. What particular part is being swabbed? The tonsils, no? It will be swabbed. And then also from the other side linings of the mouth. Then test extracted antigens, it will be using ELISA. We have already discussed principle of ELISA or latex agglutination. We also have discussed that. If negative, then we will perform culture and sensitivity to identify other bacteria because it has to be emphasize that it's not only strep A that causes pharyngitis, but among the bacteria causing pharyngitis, we need to identify strep A as this would possibly occurring as sequelae, RHD or glomerulo, wherein the damage is irreversible. If you are diagnosed once for it, you'll have it for life. Okay? So it's really very important to identify first if it is strep A. If it turned out to be negative in rapid tests, then it is recommended to do culture and sensi to identify other bacteria for the proper treatment of the individual. Okay. Now, most useful in streptococcal sequelae is the detection of streptococcal antibodies. And then organisms elaborate more than 20 exotoxins that may invoke antibody response. Of these 20, the most useful are the following. Your ASO, the anti-streptolysin O, anti-DNase B, anti-anidase, and anti-hyaluronidases. So these are the most useful antibodies where we quantitate in the laboratory and then correlate result to possible infection with strep A. Okay, so we'll start with the ASO or the anti-streptolysin O procedure and interpretation. So this is how we prepare for the assay. We allow all reagents and samples to warm room temperature. So it's a serological test kit that we place it inside a refrigerator for proper storage if it's not in use. So if you will be doing the assay, do not immediately use the reagents immediately after getting it from the refrigerator. You still have to keep warm this before we're going to use, and it should be well mixed in a figure of 8. No, when we mix reagents. Okay, remove reagents from foam folders or holders rather. Do not heat reagents in the water bath as this would destroy the active ingredient of the reagents. Allow reagents are ready for use, or all reagents rather are ready for use as supplied. So we don't need to prepare it, or we don't need to, what do you call this, mix other reagents to this in order to to have a reagent, working reagent. This one is ready for use once it is pulled out from the box, no, serological box. We gently mix, as I've said, figure of 8, before using, and avoid foaming. Di pwedeng pabulain, no? So gently mix the latex reagent before use to ensure homogeneity of the reagent. So this would be the for a while. Meron pa tayong protocol. Quali. Using the stirrer pipettes, deliver one free-falling drop. So a pipette, plastic pipette, is provided in the test kit of each serum sample onto a separate circle on the test slide. Use a fresh stirrer pipette for each sample. When using the stirrer pipette, keep it in a vertical position to ensure accurate delivery. So we don't slant it in a vertical position, not in horizontal, as the drop of blood will not be equal. For equal dropping of blood, or not blood, of reagent volume rather, the pipette or pipette at the same time stirrer yan kasi back to back, no? One end is as a pipette and the other end as a stirrer. Okay, kaya tawag pipette stirrer siya. So for equal fall of volume, then it should be delivered vertically. Okay. Repeat by adding one free-falling drop of reactive or non-reactive control, referring to the positive and negative control. So every time we do the assay of a sample, dapat merong partner, positive or negative control. From the dropper vials supplied, note the location of each sample by using the numbers located above and to the left each side circle. Now, what's the use of this reactive and non-reactive control? Aside from you can use it as reference whether your sampled assay is non-reactive or reactive because you're going to compare the result. The very particular purpose of your non-reactive and reactive control is to determine whether all reagents are working. And how would you do it? How will it be indicated? So dapat pag label is reactive, dapat merong agglutination if indeed your reagents are working well in good quality. So pag sinabing reactive, result should be reactive. There would be agglutination. If the test is for non-reactive, then it should be non-reactive, no agglutination. So you treat the same you give the same treatment to your unknown. So bale, let's say if you have one sample, you're going to need 3 wells, tatlong wells. 1 well for the sample, 1 well for the reactive reagent, and 1 well for the non-reactive. You don't mix serum or your sample with the reactive and non-reactive. No, you treat the reactive and non-reactive as if they are also sample. So, then you add the latex reagent. 1 for each. Isa dun sa yung sample, isa rin for your reactive, and isa rin for the non-reactive control. So expel the contents of the latex reagent dropper and refill. Add 1 drop of the reagents to each serum specimen and to each of the control. Using the flat end of the stirrer pipette. So dalawa kasi siya, no? One end as a pipette, the other end would be a stirrer. Mix each specimen and control serum with the latex reagent in a circular manner over the entire area of the circles of the slide. You really have to spread it onto the entire. Pero alam mo naman hanggang saan. Hindi pwede yung mag-crossover yung ating mga sample. May demarcation circle yon. So we only mix it within the demarcated circular boundaries for each of this specimen and for each of the control. Then gently tilt and rotate the slide for about 2 minutes so you read results after 2 minutes. All test results should be compared to both reactive and non-reactive controls. No? So I said one use of your or purposes of your control is as comparison, but the primary purpose really is to determine whether your reagents are working well. Okay? Wash the glass slides with detergent and rinse with. Ito yon kung it's non-disposable. Yung glass type ang gamit na kulay itim. Pero nowadays, they made use of card test na talaga, card ito. So, meaning to say, single use, then itatapon after use. But before we're going to discard it in infectious bin, we wash it first, no, para to eliminate possible contamination or exposure of someone who will be disposing it. no? So hugasan muna natin, rinse it with running water before we will discard it sa infectious bin. Okay, this is how we interpret, no? So this always against a black background because you're using a latex particle, yung puti, no? Puti in order to enhance visualization of agglutination. So reactive agglutination, ito siya for well 1, indicate an ASO concentration of greater than or equal to 200 international units per ml in the serum sample. So ito yung ating cut-off for the standard cut-off for the value. Dapat kung ikaw normal lang, less than 200 ka international unit. So if it is less than 200, expected there would be no agglutination. But if you are 200 international unit per ml or over that 200 or more, ibig sabihin, expected there would be agglutination, and it is reported as reactive, not positive, but reactive. Ito naman sa well 2 where you don't see visible agglutination, that would be non-reactive. So kung ito ay mga reactive and non-reactive control, ito yung dapat makikita mo sa well 1 pag reactive control ito. So well 2 naman pag non-reactive. So pag ganito, it means to say your working reagents is working well, of course, of good quality. Kasi reactive is really reactive, the non-reactive is non-reactive. Kung ito ay control ha, pero kung ito ay sample, then interpret one as an individual to be reactive having a possible titer of more equal to or more than 200 international units per ml. While well 2 naman, it will be interpreted as non-reactive, and we can conclude that the individual might possibly be having less than 200 international units per ml or zero, no, kung wala namang exposure. Okay, results, interpretation. So no agglutination, serial dilution is done to exclude probability of prozone phenomena. Ito rin ano, if there would be no agglutination, possible kasi na baka nagka-prozone lang. Yung mag-exist tayo ng antigens or prozone and prezone, no? Yung excess antigen antibody kung mali ang iyong pipetting, no? So the result is written less than 200 international units per ml, but we don't write negative result. Non-reactive ito siya. And then less than. Non-reactive, and if the if figure is need to be written, then susulat less than 200 international units. Agglutination naman is observed, then we say reactive with a level ASO level of 200 or more international units per ml. Okay? So serial dilution is done to detect the exact titer. Dito sa no agglutination, we do serial dilution to eliminate probability of prozone phenomenon. While for a reactive, we do serial dilution to determine the exact titer or yung concentration niya. Kasi sinusulat lang natin is possibly 200 ito international units per ml or more, kaya nag-agglutinate. So if the doctor would like to determine yung exact na titer talaga, then we do the serial dilution. Okay. So this is the serial dilution. Prepare in saline test tubes. So you have, let's say, tubes 1 to 5, but you can extend depende dun sa resulta. Okay? So sa tube 1, that is 1:2, tube 2, 1:4, 1:8, 1:16, 1:32. Now, paano? How did you arrive with this dilution factor 2, 4, 8, 16, 32? So let's have tube 1. Sa tube 1 mo, you mix 0.25 ml of serum plus 0.25 ml of saline. So the formula for getting dilution of the tube is solute plus solvent over solute. So, pag sinabi mong solute, that is the substance to be dissolved. So, in this case, it would be serum kasi ito yung i-dissolve natin sa saline solution. And when we say solvent, that is the dissolving medium. So, in this case, it would be saline. So, if the formula would be solute plus solvent over solute, then that would be 0.25 ml of serum plus 0.25 ml of saline over 0.25 ml of serum. Kasi solute plus solvent over solute. So, ilan yan? 0.25 plus 0.25, that would be equal to 0.5. Then we divide that with the solute 0.25, the result would be 2. So, ibig sabihin, the dilution of tube 1 would be 1:2. Okay. Now, paano naman sa tube 2? Okay. Ginamit mo sa tube 2 is not direct serum, but instead, you got your sample 0.25 ml galing sa tube 1. No, you got it from there. So, kinunan mo ng 0.25 ml from tube 1, which is mixed to 0.25 ml of saline. But still, this would be referred to as the solute. Kahit pa nanggaling sa tube 1 yan, that is the substance to be dissolved in your saline solution. So, that is still 0.25. So, kung kukunin natin ang dilution of this solution, that would be 0.25 from tube 1 plus 0.25 ml of saline over 0.25 ml from tube 1. So, ganun pa rin ang resulta, 0.25 plus 0.25, that is equivalent to 0.5 over 0.25, that gives you a dilution of the solution as 2. No? 2 yan, 1:2 yung kanyang dilution of the solution. But as to the tube, no? Tube dilution mo, ilan na ngayon? Alam natin na yung solute is coming from tube 1 with a dilution factor of 2. Okay. So, ang gagawin mo to get the serial dilution of the solution times the dilution factor to which the solute was taken. So, for tube 2, nanggaling yun sa tube 1. And the dilution factor of tube 1 is 2. Multiply mo sa dilution solution ng iyong tube 2 na 2 pa din, di ba? Kasi 0.25 plus 0.25 over 0.25, that is still 2. Yung dilution factor of the solution. Multiply that to with the dilution factor of tube 1, which is also 2. Kasi nanggaling doon ang iyong solute. So, 2 times 2, that gives you 4. So, the same thing that will happen for tube 3, 4, 5. Kasi lahat naman nito, tube 3, 4, 5, ang dilution ng solution nito is still 2. And then, kung tube 3 ka, nanggaling naman sa tube 2 rather, yung iyong solute, which has a dilution factor of 4, times the 2. Dilution solution of tube 3, 4 times 2, that's 8. So, ganun din pagdating sa tube 4. Galing sa tube 3 na may dilution factor na 8 times 2, 16. So, ganun din sa tube 5, nanggaling ang solute mo sa tube 4. So, that is 16 times 2, that makes it 32. And so on and so forth. Ganun na. So, you can extend your dilution. Okay? So, ito yung ating principle ng anti-streptolysin O test. Yung streptolysin O antigen mo, ito yung nasa reagent. This is what is in the reagent. And then, the red blood cells are part also of the reagent as indicator. Kung streptolysin O is present as, if the antibody is negative, no? So, ibig sabihin, walang anti-streptolysin O ang patient dahil wala naman siyang exposure to streptolysin, what happens? You expect there would be hemolysis for a negative result. Negative result, dapat may hemolysis. Bakit? Kasi yung streptolysin O reagent mo, strep streptolysin nga o lysine will be able to lyse the indicator cell which is part of the reagent also na RBC kung walang antibodies. Kasi kung may antibody, the antibody binds with streptolysin O. And when you add the indicator RBC, RBC can no longer react, or streptolysin rather, can no longer react with the RBC added in order to lyse it. Kasi ito, bind na ito sa iyong antibody kung talagang positive ang individual. So pag positive, expected mo no hemolysis. Again ha, pag negative ang individual, you expect that there would be hemolysis because what will happen, the streptolysin O reagent from the test kit will be able to lyse the RBC, the indicator red cells you have added. But if the individual is positive for the antibody, it is expected that that antibody, anti-streptolysin O or your ASO, will bind with the streptolysin reagent that is present in the reagent kit. And so therefore, you expect pag negative result, pag positive rather result, no hemolysis. Okay, so this is, excuse me, an illustration of the serial dilution. So you made dilutions hanggang 8 siya actually. So I've said that you can extend kasi depende. Yung sa first natin na sample, 1 to 5 tubes lang yon, no? So ano ang iyong deciding factor na you will extend your tube dilution? Ito yan. Sabi ko kanina, pag negative na sa antibody, there would be hemolysis. Okay? Now, kung sa tubes 1 to 5 mo, tawag nito, tubes 1 to 5 mo is no hemolysis pa rin, ibig sabihin you need to extend. Kasi di yung sample natin kanina, di ba, 1 to 5 tubes lang yon. So, sa 1 to 5 tubes mo, kung wala pa ring hemolysis, you need to extend, no, your tube dilution para makuha mo ang eksaktong titer. Kasi kung tubes 1 to 5 wala pa rin, no, there is no hemolysis, ibig sabihin merong pang antibodies present. Kasi kung wala ng antibody, magkakaroon na ng hemolysis. Remember, we do the serial dilution for reactive results to get the exact titer. So kung mag-stop ka, if you're going to stop tube 5, hindi mo masasabi na ang titer ng iyong pasyente ay 64. Kasi wala pang hemolysis nakikita. Ibig sabihin nun, meron pang antibody. Kasi the titer supposed to be reported is the last tube showing no hemolysis. Like this one, kung ang tube A with a titer of 1:512, may hemolysis na, ibig sabihin wala na itong antibody. Ang antibody na na-dilute mo is up to tube 7. So ito yung titer ng pasyente, 1:256. So ang titer niya ngayon, you get the dilution factor. That's 256. So you imagine, kung you stop at tube 5, that is not yet the titer of the patient. Kailangan nang kukunin mo the last tube showing no hemolysis. Kasi pag nag-hemolyze na, ano nga ibig sabihin? Wala nang antibody present dyan. Okay? So ang titer niya is the previous tube showing no hemolysis. Sabihin, ito yung pinaka-titer niya of the antibody. That's 256. Okay? So this is how we express ASO titer. The last tube with no hemolysis. Bakit nga? Sabi ko, kung wala ng antibody, the streptolysin O reagent na nasa test kit will be able to lyse the indicator RBC. Dahil walang nag-react na antibody na, no more. Pero pag walang hemolysis, ibig sabihin may antibody pa yun that reacted in complex with streptolysin O, so that upon addition of the indicator RBC, you expect there would be no hemolysis. So it is but correct that the titer of the individual reported should be the last tube with no hemolysis. So the result is expressed in TAD units, the reciprocal of the original serum dilution or yung dilution factor, yun representing the TAD unit. So for example, nasa 1:8, so we make, rather, the tube dilution pa lang kukunin, not the dilution factor. So if the tube is 1:8, then we report it as 8 TAD units containing 256 international units per ml of the antibody. So that would be 8, not 256 dilution factor rather. So if it's on tube 8, the last tube with no hemolysis, then we call it, or we express it in 8 TAD units. Now, a fourfold increase in titer between acute and convalescent sample indicates a recent group A streptococcal infection. So, kasi if you have past exposure, still you give a positive result with TAD. Okay, so in order to interpret it as acute infection, currently infected, you need to get samples from the first week of symptoms occurring. That would be the acute. And then you get another sample nearing recovery. Nearing recovery. Kung ang resulta ng acute mo sample is 4-fold times, no? 4 times increase sa if the result of the convalescent is 4 times increase, meaning talagang tumaas yung antibody titer mo para to combat the antigens, no, of the exoantigens of the causative agent releasing, then it means it's an acute infection. Recent yon, no, kung 4 times. Pero kung 2 beses ka kumuha ng sample at hindi naman 4-fold increase yung ating pang-convalescent period, ibig sabihin lang nun, past infection yon. Kung may tonsillitis ang pasyente, it means to say it's not strep A. No? So kung gusto mo ay malaman kung ito ay acute, physicians would like to know if it's the current infection. Kasi pwede yun mag-pharyngitis ka, pero hindi naman caused by strep A. So kung kukuha ka ng sample nung time na nag-occur yung symptoms plus nung recovery na, kung hindi ito strep A, current infection, hindi tataas ng ganong kalaki, 4-fold yung iyong antibody. Pero kung current infection ito na strep A, expected mo yun na yung acute mo and the convalescent, talagang 4 times increase ang convalescent. In response to the acute infection, paspasan gumawa ng antibodies ang katawan. Okay. So normal range nito, adults, less than 200 international units per ml. Kasi ang equal to 200 or more, positive yon or reactive. Children, less than 150. Children under 5, less than 100. Newborns, similar to the mother's value. 6 months to 2 years, less than 50 TAD units per ml. Elevated ASO levels can indicate a recent or past infection. Yung sabi ko nga, how you know it's recent, may 4-fold increase in convalescent value compared to acute. If it is past infection, not noticeable yung 4-fold increase. So group AC or G streptococcal bacteria may suggest a pro-streptococcal complication, yung sequelae, RHD and glomerulonephritis, and elevated ASO levels even within the normal range may warrant further investigation if symptoms of a post-streptococcal complication are present. Kasi kailangan talaga for rapid diagnosis and correct diagnosis because we wanted to prevent occurrence of the post-strep sequelae, which is deadly, yung ating RHD and glomerulo. And you have it for life once you have it. No, once you are diagnosed, you have it for life. Okay, so ito yung serological test kit. No, we have here an illustration. So ito yung mga positive in, false positive in. Okay. Then streptozyme, it's the next test. Ang streptozyme mo, screening test produced by Wampo Laboratories that detects antibodies to 5 proteins, DNase B, hyaluronidase, NADA, strepto, and streptolysin. So, wala ka nitong titering wala. This is just a qualitative test, no, whether you are reactive or not. Kung reactive ka, talang positive ka for strep infection because the streptozyme test will already include the 5 most diagnostic na antibodies. Okay, ito yung 5. So kung nagpositibo, you may proceed with the serial dilution for ASO to determine the exact titer. Okay, so ito naman yung streptozyme test principle, latex agglutination pa rin. Ito yung the same, no? Ang principle for determining whether it is present or past infection, yung 4-fold increase in titer. So we also have anti-DNase B test, antibody peaks at 4 to 6 weeks after group A. Principal latex pa rin, and then you have here the titer reference, okay, for your anti-DNase test. Okay, again, I guess that would be the end for the discussion of this streptococcal serology.